Chapter 2.3 Soft Landing. Retta was meant to go to that planet, but maybe not in that specific skiff. The engine sputtered to start and groaned with pain. It rattled and shook the entirety of the skiff. The suspension was broken, and she felt every bump of the launch rail. The gears locked in. She heard a rusty squeak, and she closed her eyes to pray. The ship shot off. The wings shook like the leaves of a tree, and then something snapped. Retta looked outside, but everything appeared fine. She wasn't sure if that was for better or worse. It's okay, she thought. As long as I have emergency oxygen. She looked back at the inner cockpit, and everything was floating. An expired inspection sticker crossed in midair. The emergency oxygen tank lifted off the floor. Her notebook, her pen, her hair, and the glowing baton slowly floated in zero gravity in front of her. Her seatbelt was her only saving grace. She figured it out. That snap was the artificial gravity generator breaking. All right, that's fine, she convinced herself and reached for her belongings. As long as I... Descent initiated, a computer voice said over hidden speakers. Whoa, wait. The thrusters came to life. The ship catapulted into a nosedive, and all the floating debris slammed against the wall. The skiff careened down towards the planet below with maximum force, and pinned Retta against her seat. Her neck muscles bulged, struggling to fight against the pressure. Retta could only watch as the ship streaked at breakneck speed towards the planet below. In mere moments, the planet went from the size of a marble to her entire horizon. The skiff cut through the atmosphere like a red-hot knife. The friction rattled and shook the loose panels inside. One panel fell off, and Red saw exposed, uninsulated wires sparking at frayed metal tips. She looked away to an even worse view. The floor was glass. She had a clear, gut-wrenching view of her rapid descent towards the planet's surface, covered in trees. A crash landing was imminent. Retta gripped the yoke, pulled back, and it snapped off. The ship was in free fall. Retta braced herself, covered her face, and the skiff barreled through the trees. The red-hot exterior sliced through the canopy, snapped branches, and immediately seared everything in its wake. The smell of burnt wood permeated the cockpit. The ship blasted through and suddenly plunged into a deep, dark, blue body of water. The inside of the skiff went pitch black. Retta lurched forward, unpinned from her seat, and caught her breath from the near-death descent. Machinery whirred outside the ship, and the skiff's side thrusters ignited. They uprighted the ship and forced it to the surface. Oh, my God. Retta felt her heart thumping against her chest. She could hardly believe she survived. Retta looked through the window and saw a vast expanse of water. On its surface were floating, glowing green lanterns, like buoys bobbing on the water. Inside the lanterns were massive fireflies, radiating bioluminescence across the water's wake. She was surrounded by a sea of water and a forest of trees. They rose from the sea, their trunks so deep they looked born from the water. They vaulted high over Retta, their branches intertwined, and their canopy blotted out the sky. Whoa, she said. Retta was in awe until her ship started sinking. The vessel's door leaked, and a red light flashed inside. Oh no. No. She touched her palm to a latch's seam and felt moisture slip through. Her palm was damp, and Retta searched for something to plug the leak. There was nothing. The skiff was even more destitute than Tobias' ship. Retta felt a pit in her stomach. She was going to sink. She anxiously searched, found nothing, and another leak sprung through the seam. Retta pressed her other hand against it, except this one was worse. It shot water like a broken faucet, and then another leak burst through the bottom right. Retta shoved her boot into it futilely. Water sprayed around her toe, shot into her face, and a fourth leak broke through. Water rushed in. It crept up her leg, climbed to her waist, and rose to her neck. The ship sank below the surface, and Retta watched her view plunge into the depths. Realizing she had precious seconds left, Retta inhaled her biggest breath and kicked at the door. She kicked and kicked with no success. She kicked one final time, and at the same moment she hit the latch, a sharp, pointed end of a spear pierced it from outside. Retta jerked back and saw the spear's tip, a bony skull and serrated teeth of some unrecognizable creature. Its teeth were so sharp it sawed clean through metal, and the spear ripped through the hinges. The glass cockpit popped off, plunged deep into the water's depths, and disappeared from sight. Retta unlatched her seatbelt, pushed out of her seat, and found herself lost in the dark waters. The spear disappeared. There was no light. She had no idea where the surface was. All she saw was the fading, blinking red light of her skiff as it sank deeper and deeper into the depths. Her lungs quivered. Her body wanted air. She needed to breathe. Retta resisted and fought the temptation, but like the skiff, she leaked. The seal broke. Retta coughed, and water infiltrated her lungs. She was drowning, and she had no idea how to escape. She flailed desperately, searching anywhere for the surface, and with another cough, water went even deeper into her lungs. Retta felt horrid. She wanted to vomit. Her vision faded. Her chest seized, and she felt something tug at the back of her scarf. It felt like a hook, dragging her up, but by the time she felt it, she already faded. Retta surfaced and was thrown onto a small boat made of massive, interwoven leaves. She hacked her lungs out, ripped apart her throat, and expelled both water and blood. She may have felt like death, but she was alive. Her soaked clothes dripped onto the boat of leaves, and she remained on all fours, looking up and locking eyes with a pale boy with golden eyes. He wore a robe made of white silk tied together by a belt of vines. His hair was silver and messy, wrapped in a headband with a moon symbol at the center. "Are you a star drifter?" he said, and crouched down to be at eye level with her. Retta wiped her soggy face and collected her composure. Yes, I'm the pilot of this vessel." She turned and remembered her skiff had sunken deep, deep into the sea. "I was the pilot of that vessel." The boy chuckled and laid back on the prow. It was a curved leaf stem, curled at the bow, and it held a hanging lantern of fireflies. "Wow, a real star drifter." He looked up to the sky and pointed to a hole in the canopy. "This is the only spot to see the stars. I come here when no one's watching." He pointed to a larger hole right next to it. "And that's where you came through. It seems the fates were aligned for us to meet." He smiled while still looking at the sky. "I'm Zoto," he said, lost in his stargazing. "Hi," she said, taken aback that a crashing skiff hardly fazed him. "Thanks for saving me." "What are the stars like?" Zoto asked, with childlike innocence. While slightly unsettling to Retta, it allowed her a moment to collect her bearings on his ship of leaves. "Never been?" "No. That's my dream, though. To travel the stars." "Me too. I just started," she said, and laid on the opposite side of the boat. She looked up at the sky with him. Stars twinkled through the narrow hole brighter than they ever did on Earth. "Have you touched a star? You shine like one," Zoto said. Retta felt a warm glow come from her pocket. It radiated from her baton. As she pulled it out, a faint green-blue glow pulsated towards Zoto. He moved closer and touched it as she held it in her hand. A shock of electricity traveled between them, and Zoto's eyes twinkled green-blue. "You're connected with nature too. I can feel it," he said, and hovered his hand over his heart. Her baton glowed the same color as the fireflies. They danced, and their glow shimmered on the water's ripples. He twisted his head like a newborn pup in an attempt to figure out the mysterious object. Those carvings. They look familiar. Do they? Retta immediately perked up. Do you know them? I do not, but our sage may. Is this yours? No, it's... She hesitated to tell Zoto the baton's origins. Tobias warned her to keep it secret, so Retta kept it vague. It's something my mom gave me. Is she a star drifter too? Yes, she is. One of the best. What's her name? She heard Tobias's voice again, echoing in the back of her mind. You gotta learn who to trust. And yet Zoto looked at her with the innocence of a child. Her name is Celeste. Celeste who? Starlight. Oh, he perked up immediately. I know someone who knows her. Retta's heart sank. You do? Sure. Zoto tapped the lantern's glass to get the fireflies' attention. They swarmed towards him. He pointed with 2 fingers, and they shifted forward. Their glow cast in front of the boat, and Zoto placed his hand on the water's surface. Without movement, a series of ripples pulsated through the water. 2 creatures from the depths latched onto the sides of the boat and rhythmically kicked to propel the boat forward. Whoa, those are some cool bots you have, Retta said. Those firefly bots, and the ones in the water that you signaled. We do not have bots here. They do not function well with the water. All right, bots or no bots, that's some interesting tech you have in your hand. How'd you signal them to come to you? Ultrasonic frequency? I didn't hear a thing. It is nature, Red. No magic behind it, he said. She wondered what kind of tricks he was playing on her. All right, so then how'd you know my name? Some neurotelekinesis? He pointed to her red scarf, and she felt embarrassed. Right, yeah. Red's fine, she said, and felt the glow of the baton dissipate away.